App State and Old Dominion was a mismatch. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's $300. That's a great promotion for the NFL playoffs divisional round. All right, we will get to JMU escaping Marshall Thundering Herd. Tried their darndest to give it away. And, of course, we'll preview Saturday's action. Headliner is South Alabama and Troy in Mobile. Currently, Arkansas State is trying to put the finishing touches on what we expected to be a blowout, 20-point game at half. Louisiana tried to close the gap. It still appears it's about a 20-point game. That game could be done by the time we are finished. We'll see if it's done by the time we're done with this one. But really looking forward to watching App State and Old Dominion. Did see the Old Dominion Monarchs play South Alabama on Saturday against South Alabama. Was really impressed with them and hadn't really seen App State this year and was really looking forward to watching this ball game. It was not a ball game. It was 14-1. It was not a ball game. When did App State score their first field goal? Because it took a minute. Their first field goal was with 13:29. It took 6.5 minutes to score a field goal. And it's not like ODU's first field goal took 6.5 minutes. The final score, should mention that, was 62-43. And let's face it, ODU laid an egg. They came in high flying. Probably, I don't think I'm going out on a limb, probably will have played their best game of the year against South Alabama. And South Alabama in that game didn't play all that poorly. Had a shot to win the game. It's one thing, and I did call it a letdown game only because Old Dominion, they'd actually been playing better. We said that. They came in 3-1. That was for first place, but they had been all geeked up for Arkansas State. And naturally, when you're playing the preseason favorite, coming in, playing a team with an overall losing record, it's going to have a little bit of a letdown. And they had been blowing people out by double digits. And they didn't play up to what they had been playing. Going to be a little bit of a letdown. But this was just bad. ODU was bad. And the thing is, App State, I don't know if they played. Let's see what App State did. Let me check out what they've done. Obviously, they played better, right? Because the statistics, like ODU, was just bad, right? They shot 31% from the floor. All right, 21 from three. They made a grand total of 15 shots. They had 4 assists. So everybody is going 1-on-1. Rebounds were basically even. They had 11 turnovers to 6. Free throws were basically even. So the fouls were relatively even. I mean, App State was 10 of 15 from the line. ODU was 9 of 13. I mean, App shot 43%. That's not great. And they shot 27% from three. It's not like App State ran away and hid. ODU just could not throw it in the ocean. They put up a grand total of 18 points. But App, they went cold because, again, they jumped out to a 14-1 lead in the first 5 minutes of the game, and they only got 29 in the first half. The closest that App got, or ODU got, after the 14-1 lead was 20 or 29-20 as they got the first bucket of the second half, and then we're down double digits the rest of the game. All right. Now, CJ Huntley had a fantastic ball game for App State, 26 points, 12 rebounds. Myles Tate had a Myles Tate game, 14 points, did not shoot the three very well, 2 of 9, but 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. That is a Myles Tate ball game. But the guys who, combined to score, what they had 71 points on Saturday against South Alabama, and I think they scored about 55 of those. Dura Gordon had 10 against App State on 3 of 11 shooting, and Davis had 11 on 4 of 16 shooting, 3 of 12 from 3. So they just did not play very well. And again, the disappointing part is they were out of it from the get-go. And it'd be one thing if they lost by, if App State was, up like, 45-18 at half because they were shooting the lights out, but they weren't. They had a shot to get back in the game, right? They did, and they just couldn't. They were bad all night long. So we'll see, if they take advantage of, James Madison barely hung on tonight. Georgia Southern or Coastal comes in. James Madison is not great on the road. And then Coastal comes in. And obviously they're not all that great. So it could have been a really long winning streak for Old U. And I think there is perception. All right. Again, you don't get any bonus points in my book. I'm a win and move on guy. All right. Impressive wins are impressive wins. That's why we were so impressed with South Alabama. Like, well, they're just blowing people out. And so it catches your eye. All right. But a win, and, we have win and move on. All right. But there is, if you play App State tough and you lose at home, say 62-59. Although maybe you were down 10 and you make a little, spurt at the end with the benches. And it was a 10-point game for most of the game, and you lose by, say, 5, whatever, 62-57. All right. Couldn't quite, catch up. But you were in the ball game. It was maybe a 7 to 10-point game all the way. You couldn't quite get over the hump. All right. That's one thing. But they were just never in it. I mean, from the opening tip, 6.5 minutes. Think about that. They took 6.5 minutes to get their first field goal. They scored 8 points in 5 minutes in the overtime to beat South Alabama. They left their game in Mobile, and we'll see if they bounce back this weekend against JMU, because that's got to be about as disappointing a performance as you can have. That's bad. That's just bad. I don't know if they thought they were I don't know what they thought they were going to do, because App State came in playing very well, and App State's got as good as 1-2 punch in the league as you got with Huntley and Tate. They got inside and outside, and Myles Tate is one of those. He can do it from the outside, and he's going to go grab your rebounds inside. So I don't know what ODU thought was going to happen. Maybe I could be one of those guys overreacting. The shots were just not falling. It could be just one of those things. One of those nights where the shots were just not falling for Old Dominion. It could be one of those things. So you could chalk it up to that. All right. We'll see what happens moving forward. All right. JMU escapes. There was only one way Marshall could actually send this game to overtime, and it almost happened. Oh, my goodness. We'll talk about that when we come back after I tell you about Prize Picks. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right. 1,000 times your money by just making a few simple picks. For me, I'm all about the hot takes this season. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at Lamar Jackson for more than 250 passing yards and Travis Kelce for more than 70 receiving yards. It's fun to predict and easy to play. Plus, with Prize Picks Flex Play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And with the app, You get your winnings fast, sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 for just playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run your game. Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, we had 4 games. We'll get through the rest of the Sunbelt tonight. We had 4 games on Thursday night, and in the next section, we will try to preview quickly all of the action that's happening on Saturday. Did get a chance to watch the end of the JMU Marshall ball game. I caught it with about 20 seconds left. JMU leading Marshall 64-61. And the thing is, JMU was sort of leading, watching the score, Marshall throughout the ball game. This was one of those games that, say, JMU seemed to have a comfortable lead throughout. Now it's less than a minute, and JMU is up by 3. Marshall's got the ball with about 25 seconds left. They run a play. They get a runner into the lane. Marshall does. They miss. JMU rebounds with less than 10 seconds left. JMU rebounds it, and Marshall fouls. Okay? Marshall, or JMU, I should say, makes 1 free throw. All right? They call timeout. It's 65-61. And this is a pet peeve of mine. All right? Because these guys have been playing basketball for the better part of the decade, and players don't understand the situation. It happens in baseball all the time. They're not paying attention to the situation because guys will stand there and watch the pitcher throw 7 or 8 pitches out of the strike zone, and they go up there swinging at the first pitch. I don't care if that first pitch is straight down the middle. You got to take it. It's 65-61. I get it. You don't want to foul the guy and, put him on a free throw line to give him free points because it's a 4-point game. But there is only one way that you can send this game into overtime, and that is have Marshall hit a 3-point shot and you foul him. And guess what happens? Jalen Speer hits a 3-point shot and JMU fouls him. Now, the official out by the shot doesn't call a foul. The official underneath the basket does. Not the best of all angles. My thing is, why is any JMU defender anywhere near the shooter? Let him go. They shouldn't be close enough to breathe on him. All right? I mean, just let him go. Just all the JMU defenders, just be right. Don't even defend him. Just let him go. All right? Now, unfortunately for Marshall, Speer misses the free throw. Brutal, because he had a really good ball game. So Marshall, or JMU, ends up hanging on 67-64, makes some free throws. Jalen Speer felt awful, led Marshall in scoring with 20, but that's a brutal loss as, JMU, tried to give it away, and Marshall couldn't quite take it. So Speer led the herd with 20, did have 3 other starters in double figures. Michael Dawson had 15. Anakili Keelan had 12. And Nate Martin, again, him and Conaway have been in this conference forever. He had 11. JMU, led by Xavier Brown, he had 13. Elijah Hutchins Everett had 12. And coming off the bench, Bryce Lindsey, he had 10. And actually, JMU had some contributions off the bench, and that was the difference in the ball game. Geez, they had 16. They had 22 points off of the bench compared to Marshall, who had 4. There's the difference in the ball game. All right. So JMU, 67-64. They improved to 10-8, 3-3 in the conference. Marshall drops to 10-9, 3-3 in the conference. I should go back and mention with App State losing, let me rephrase that. with App State beating Old Dominion. App State won the game. With Old Dominion losing, South Alabama goes back to first place. South Alabama 5-1. Old Dominion drops to 4-2. Troy is 4-2, and App State 4-2. So those, you got a three-way tie for second place. And now Troy has a chance, and we'll talk about that coming up, to tie South Alabama for first place with a battle for the belt. All right. Elsewhere, we had a good finish in overtime with Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina. Georgia Southern 88-87 final, as close a game as you could get. Georgia Southern was leading at half, 35-33. I think Coastal Carolina went on a little bit of a run at the end of the ball game to get back into this one, because I thought Georgia Southern was pulling away. Like, Georgia Southern was sort of in control of this game. They're up 5 with 5 minutes left to go. They were up 7 with, they were up 8 with 3 minutes left to go. Georgia Southern was up 9 with 2 minutes and 22 seconds left to go. 74-65. 74-65. And somehow Coastal Carolina got it to OT, as Georgia Southern scored 1 point the rest of the way. Oh my God. As I would say, it's not really a come from ahead victory, because, well, I'd have to see in overtime if they did fall behind. But they were ahead 74-65 with 2:22 to go, scored 1 point, one more point in regulation to get it to overtime. And they hang on to win it in overtime, 88-87. Did they? Well, let me see if they fell behind in overtime. They did fall behind in overtime. Jordan Battle made a couple of free throws. They were behind 80-79. So technically, yes, my little saying come from ahead victory for Coastal, or for Georgia Southern, and that was a big one. They needed that victory. They have not had a win in a bit. So they are 9-9. They improved to 2-4 in the conference. Coastal drops to 1-5. They are 8-10 overall. So Georgia Southern in overtime, and what had to be a very entertaining game. Again, first half 35-33. Second half, very exciting at the end. Coastal goes on a huge run, 42-40 in the second half. Coastal wins it. And then in overtime, it was 13-12 Georgia Southern. So very entertaining ball game over in Conway, South Carolina. All right, let's see if this game is over. I don't think it is. The Cajuns taking on Arkansas State, and it's been all Arkansas State. Currently under 5 minutes left to go, 71-52. Arkansas State, they were favored by 16.5. That seems to be the only thing left to be decided. It was 44-24 at half. Let's see what the box score is. Let's see what Kobe Julian is doing against his former squad. Struggling a little bit, 4 for 10, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 15 points, just scoring. Now, does lead Arkansas State in that category, making 6 free throws. Very good at that, getting to the bucket, but also grabbing 7 rebounds. And Mustafa leading the Cajuns with 16 points. And now it is a 20-point ball game, 72-52. So Arkansas State will join those other teams with 4 wins in the conference. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll preview Saturday's action. And you got a big one. South Alabama and Troy is definitely the headliner. We will find out who else is matched up when we come back after I tell you about FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's check out what's going on Saturday in the Sunbelt. We do have some nationally televised games coming up, but they are not on Saturday. I think, is it coming up on Wednesday the 22nd? No. Thursday the 23rd? It is. App State is taking on Arkansas State. That will be on ESPN2. So that is a week from tonight, as it turns out. And that should be a pretty good basketball game. All right. That should be a very good basketball game. So that's a nice game. That is in Jonesboro. All right. So that's a good game to have nationally televised. We are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but nonetheless, that is a week from tonight. So all these games are streamed. And I'll be able to watch a couple of them. I get off at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Summer's starting a little bit early. The headliner is South Alabama and Troy. Again, battle for first place. South Alabama comes in off of the win against Southern Miss. Didn't shoot it very well, but again, they confounded Southern Miss pretty good defensively. Chance to go 3-1 on a big homestand. Troy comes in with, after snapping a little bit of a losing streak, they come in off a win, but they beat ULM on the road. They are 4-2, and obviously they beat South Alabama. That'll be a feather in their cap because South Alabama has to go to Troy later on. So this is a big ball game for South Alabama to make sure they hold serve, so to speak. That game is 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central time. Let's see what else is a good matchup. I guess the other big matchup is going to be James Madison hosting App State. James Madison didn't play particularly well, good enough to beat Marshall at home. By the way, did I call that one? Was that the 5? I got that one right, didn't I? I said James Madison was going to win, but Marshall covered the 5.5. I got that one right. This one should be a good ball game. James Madison at App State. App State's tough. All right. It took a little bit, but it appears App State is headed in the right direction. So I think that's going to be a good ball game. That's 4:00. We'll see if James Madison can handle App State. Again, winning on the road in the Sun Belt is tough. App State absolutely dominated Old Dominion. I'm not even sure, again, App State played all that well, at least offensively. Again, let me see. I think they played better offensively. I could be wrong. No, that's generally, so they do see they have played better offensively. When they lost, they didn't play well. They scored 86 against JMU. They scored 74, 72 against Texas State. When they lost, they didn't play well. They had 61, they had 64, they had 62, they've had 59. So when they do score in the 70s, they're playing better. I just think they played really well defensively, and Old Dominion didn't play well at all. Not at all. So I think App State can play better. But I think that was a combination of App State playing good defense and ODU just not being able to throw it into the ocean whatsoever. That may be the only, because we just, the Sun Belt is very much top heavy when it comes to teams with overall winning records. I guess there are some. I guess in the Sun Belt, there are teams with a 500 record that have overall winning records. Let's see here. They're not being played against each other on Saturday, as it turns out. There's only 2 games, and I just already did them. James Madison's got a winning record. App State's got a winning record overall. And South Alabama and Troy have winning records, both in the conference and overall. That's it. No other matchup on Saturday has teams with a winning record overall or in the conference, for that fact of the matter. So let's just go down through it. Cajuns beating Monroe. This was not an easy win for the Cajuns last week. They kind of had a win and move on. We'll see if Monroe can get their first win in the conference. They're 0-6, obviously very desperate. It's a good chance for Monroe to get that victory because the Cajuns they're just not good. They are very similar in overall record. Cajuns are 5-12, about to be 5-13. Monroe is 4-15. See what Marshall can do to bounce back. They did a good job battling. They were down to JMU most of the game, had an absolute chance to tie that one up, missed a free throw at the end. Free throws matter. They're going into Coastal Carolina. That should be a game that Marshall should win. They're better than Coastal Carolina, although Coastal Carolina played a whale of a ball game at the end and forced overtime against Georgia Southern, but could not come away with a victory. That game is at 3:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Central. We'll see if Marshall can go into Conway and come away with a victory. Georgia State got blown out last time out against Texas State. Did not play well defensively at all. Texas State had their way on the boards and second chance points. And Georgia State did not put up much of a battle. Again, they seem to be a little bit shorthanded, so maybe that is the difference. And Arkansas State is getting Kobe Julian back now for the third straight game. So Arkansas State should be able to handle business. And that game is at 3:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Central time. Old Dominion looks to bounce back. They will host Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern 9-9. They're looking to get back to their winning, get back to a winning record. They had that, come from a head victory as they somehow managed to blow a 9-point lead in the last 2 minutes and 22 seconds to Coastal Carolina, but they win in overtime. And they will go into Norfolk and take on Old Dominion. That game is at 3:30 Eastern time and 2:30 Central time. And Texas State, they are the team that blew out Georgia State. They are taking on Southern Miss. Texas State 10-8 overall and 3-3 in the Sun Belt. Southern Miss 8-10. 3-3 in the Sun Belt. That ball game, 5:00 Eastern time, 4:00 Central time. Quickly checking out the standings. South Alabama, top of the standings, 5-1. Troy, App State, Old Dominion, Arkansas State eventually will be 4-2. Cajuns are going to drop to 3-3, tied with James Madison. Texas State, Marshall, Southern Miss, Georgia State, all going to be 3-3. Georgia Southern is 2-4. They did get that victory over Coastal Carolina, who drops to 1-5. And Monroe is 0-6. All right, I owe you guys. We're going to try and get a couple bonus episodes this weekend. I am working. It's very strange, again, because I usually don't have 2 straight days off, although I do next weekend. I have the weekend off next weekend. Just the way the schedule works out, I'm working 5 straight days. That sounds very strange because usually we all work 5 straight days, but I don't usually work 5 straight days. I had Monday off and I had Thursday off, but now I'm working 5 straight days. But I'm going to see if we get some bonus episodes this weekend. We'll see if we can rank the quarterbacks in the East and in the West. All right. So we will do that perhaps on Saturday and Sunday. All right. And then we'll come back if there's any Sun Belt news on Monday, and we'll do basketball on Monday as well. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. All right. Be on the lookout for the quarterback rankings this weekend. All right. And we can do some other rankings as well as we go along. We do have signing day is coming up, and we are still trying to get the coaches. Believe you me, we're still trying to get the coaches. All right. Nonetheless, have a great weekend. Really appreciate all the support you've been watching and listening. Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day,